Hello, my fellow cigar smokers, and welcome to Smoker's Spot. We are doing another pairing today. The Padron Classic 3000 Maduro and an Irish whiskey, the Connemara. Let's see how these two beauties get together. The Padron Classic 3000 Maduro, as the name says, it's a Maduro wrapper, nice and dark. It's a classical Toro, 52 ring gauge and 5 inches long. It's a puro Nicaragua, means the wrapper, binder and the filler, they are all made of Nicaraguan tobacco, mostly sun-grown tobaccos. Very interesting cigar for a very good price. It's here in Germany, it's around €6 and I think 70 or 80, so that's around $8. Pretty good cigar. And we have the Connemara Irish whiskey, the only Irish whiskey that is peated. So we have a little bit of this peaty and smokiness that we usually find in Scottish whiskies. And there are a few more special things about Connemara, but I will talk about that in the process of smoking and drinking. I would say, guys, let's start with the cigar. Let's do a V-cut today. Oh, it's going through like butter. Nice cut. Wrapper is still okay. What a smell. A little bit of earth and some general tobacco flavors. Oh, very dry. Like dry hay. Oh, sweet mother of Jesus. Dry hay. Very earthy. Interesting. I would say, let's get this one started. Toasting it a little bit around the edges to ensure a good, oh, see, my lighter. Holy shit. Well, but I am prepared. Need no lighter when we have matches. First few puffs, actually really good. Oh, very strong on the recoil. Some black pepper. Almost crying. But it's, don't get me wrong, it's not such a strong cigar. I had it a couple of times. Very rough start, but it's a good one. And on the other hand, now we have our Connemara whiskey. Can smell the peat, the fruitiness. Let's give it a first try. A few puffs of the cigar. Earth, pepper. Combined with some of the peatiness and the fruitiness. Very, in this combination, at least on the first few puffs and on the first sip, the cigar, so the flavors of the cigar is very, very much in the foreground. Which is perfectly okay. You have to try to figure out your perfect combination for this cigar. I thought, actually I never combined before the Padron and the Connemara. So that's actually my first try to pairing these two. I assume that the cigar when we keep on smoking it, when we finishing the first third, entering the second half, it's getting a little bit rounder, balanced and milder, because right now it's, like I said, it's really rough, and it's the whiskey kind of vanishes in your mouth flavor wise, because there's much cigar and not so much whiskey flavors. So let's first try the whiskey and leave it a little bit in your mouth, trying to let the flavors expand. It's not sharp at all. You have this peatiness. It's a very mild one. Now let's, with the whiskey still, with the flavor still in your mouth, you can feel it. Let's give the cigar another shot. Okay, it's like still this Padron still dominates the flavors. As soon as the smoke expands in your mouth, the whiskey flavors kind of they vanish. So, well, let's see how the cigar is processing. And what effect does this have then on the pairing? Because right now it's not a perfect pairing. I mean, don't get me wrong. The whiskey as well as the cigar, they are both great products. The cigar is great, the whiskey is great. But in combination, the cigar dominates a little bit too much. So it would be a good pairing if you don't want it to have it balanced. If you want to have more cigar and less whiskey, that's a good pairing. If you want to have it balanced, like you have an equal amount of flavors from whiskey and cigar together, it's not perfect. At least right now with the Padron in the in the first third. Anyway, guys, sometimes you need to give things a little bit more time. In the meanwhile, I can tell you a little bit about Connemara and Padron. It's the Padron Classic series. They have a lot of cigars in the Classic series. This one's a 3000 Maduro, they have a 3000 Natural, they have a 7000, a 2000 Churchill, and so on. I think in total like easily 10 different cigars in the Classic series. And I think the Classic series is, in general, one of the cheapest cigars that Padron offers at the moment. I mean, it's still like I said, almost €7, so it's not like a low budget cigar, like we were testing a while back ago with our top 3 budget cigars in 2020. But it's a averaged priced cigar with a very good quality, and they're delivering constant good stuff, you know. This one never failed on me. And also it has a Maduro wrapper. It's looking dark and has sun-grown tobacco. It's not too strong. I wouldn't smoke it as a starter, but like the second or the third cigar in the day, very good one. And the Connemara we have here is made by the Kool-Aid distillery. They in the west coast, on the west of Ireland. And sorry, we have there are like a couple of things that are special about Connemara. First of all, usually Irish whiskies getting distilled 3 times, while Scottish whiskies getting distilled 2 times. The Connemara is only getting distilled 2 times. That's one special thing about this Irish whiskey. And as far as I know, it's the only Irish whiskey that has a significant amount of peat in it, like Scotch whiskies. You have a few others that have a little bit of smokiness or so, but very rare. The Connemara is really heavily peated, not as heavily as like a Cahuilla or some other Scotch that are coming from Islay, but for an Irish whiskey that's heavy peated. And the Kool-Aid distillery actually is not so old. They were founded in the 1980s, I think 1986 or 87, and until 2011 they were one of the few distilleries that were kind of independent. And in 2011 they were bought by Jim Beam for absurd amount of money. But Kool-Aid is doing a lot of whiskeys. If I'm looking here in my list, very popular whiskeys, if you're into Irish whiskeys at all. So they're doing the Connemara that we're drinking right now. They're doing the Tyrconnell, Kilbeggan, very popular, Dundalgan, O'Hara, and the Lucky's Malt and Ware Malt Limited Edition. So a few whiskeys, probably the most popular is the Tyrconnell and the Connemara. Connemara, if you've never been to Ireland, that's a very special place on the west side of Ireland. A lot of stones. I mean, Ireland is usually known for it's the Queen Island. Connemara has a lot of stones. I've been there a couple of times, and they are very popular for their horses. They have the Connemara ponies. I think if you're into riding and horses somehow, you probably know what I'm talking about. However, I still don't know why the Kool-Aid guys, or the Kool-Aid distillery, decided to name the whiskey Connemara, because Kool-Aid is like easily 250 kilometers away from Connemara, but maybe it's just marketing. Or they thought, because Connemara has a lot of stones and it's looking a little bit different than the rest of Ireland, we make a special whiskey that is peated, which is also unusual for Ireland, so we're putting 2 unusual things together. Maybe that was the idea, I don't know. So 2011, Cooley was bought by Jim Beam, so they were part then of the Beam family. And then just 3 years later, there was a big bang in the whiskey industry. Jim Beam was bought by Suntory. Suntory is a Japanese company who are doing a lot with liquors and other stuff all around luxury products. Very popular in Japan for making whiskeys. They have a lot of distilleries over there. I really love Japanese whiskeys. I think one of the next pairings we'll do, we do this with a Japanese one. Nibiki, for example, great whiskey. So Jim Beam was bought by Suntory, and now it's the Suntory Beam. I don't know. It's just a giant company now. And there were some rumors why exactly Suntory decided to buy Jim Beam. Jim Beam alone was a very good company, so they had no problems money-wise. And a few years ago, I had a little interview with the Jim Beam master distiller. If I find a photo, we'll leave it somewhere over here, and I'll leave it up to the post-production to put it in here, just to see how he looks like and how I was looking like back then. Not very different, actually. So yeah, that's a little bit of a history about Cooley, the Cooley Distillery, and Jim Beam and Suntory. Very interesting, but if you're into whiskey, you probably already know all that. I was putting the ash down here. It wasn't it was looking solid, but I had a little crack, so just making sure and put the ash down. So we're almost entering the second third. The cigar, as I said, is now a little bit more balanced. It started really rough, but now the different flavors kind of find their place in the cigar. We still have a mild pepper aroma now, earth, and some grassiness or hay, something like this. I would say, since the cigar's getting a little bit milder, let's try it one more time. Good whiskey. Better, definitely better. It started unbalanced, as I said, but now it's there's a little bit more harmony right now. I can taste more of the whiskey. Still, the cigar is still has its dominance flavor-wise, but now, even while I'm smoking, I can still taste the whiskey. And you know what's interesting? When I'm smoking the cigar alone, there's not much sweetness in it. Also, it has a Maduro wrapper. Sweetness is kind of very faint in the background. But together with the whiskey, and there's also some sweetness in the whiskey that the licorice was drawn out from the barrel it was aged in, usually bourbon barrels, oak bourbon barrels. And if you ever drank a good bourbon, you can taste the sweetness of the bourbon because it's made out of corn, and corn itself has some sweetness. And that combined now with the cigar has a very nice sweetness, which is only coming together when you're mixing the whiskey and the cigar. Both alone they had their sweetness, but combined it's a very, very aromatic sweetness. Like the sweetness is coming from caramel. Don't know if you know these brown, we call it here in Germany, it's called Werthesechte. I don't know if that is something that, I think that's also something you can get in the United States, probably another name. I will research that and put a picture in here if there is something like this. That's a brown, like a brown candy that has a very special kind of sweetness, and that's what I'm tasting right now. Combined whiskey and cigar, there's like this Werthesechte flavor, crazy. So as a conclusion, it's really not a perfect pairing. The cigar as well as the whiskey, they're both very good. And later on, when you like entering the second half or so, or at the end of the second third, it's getting a little bit more balanced. But what we really should look for is like a pairing that's working out from the start up to the end. I mean, that would be for me a perfect pairing. It's working just right when you're starting the cigar and drinking something, and that's not the case. They're both good, and they have this interesting flavor that is created in the second half. Like I said, this sweetness. But for me, that's fine, but it's not perfect. Anyhow, if you are into a pairing where the cigar has some dominance and the whiskey is just like going by with it, that's a good one. If you're looking for a balanced one, it's not perfect. But give me your ideas. Check out the Connemara, check out the Padron, or check out the Connemara and another Maduro cigar from Nicaragua and see what your results are, and let me know what you think. Or if you already tried this combination, let me know what you think. Would be cool to know. I mean, it's enjoyable. I will drink now the rest of the whiskey, smoke the rest of the cigar, enjoy the day. And next time we'll do another pairing, maybe with some nice food. Let me think. Okay guys, I wish you a wonderful day. Smoke a good cigar, drink good whiskey. Most importantly, stay safe, stay healthy, and visit us again at Smoker Spot. See ya.